Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to some reaction to the news that F1 will return to Las Vegas in 2023, the first time the sport will have raced in the city since 1982. Now, this news has been expected for a while now, but it was all officially confirmed overnight that the city has penned a 3-year deal with Formula One, and the first race at the new track will take place in November next year. The street circuit is set to be 6.12 kilometers long, that's 3.8 miles if you work in miles, and it will feature 14 corners and a long straight that should see drivers reach speeds of more than 210 miles per hour down the Vegas Strip, and the race itself will run for 50 laps. As expected, it will take place at night, and so as a result, the race will take place on a Saturday, giving it a primetime slot across the US. No race start time was confirmed in the release from F1, by the way, but some have said the race could start as early as 7 p.m. local time or as late as 10 p.m. local time. Of course, we will wait for official word on that, but one thing is for sure, it is an early start for European viewers, although, in my opinion anyway, that is made slightly more bearable as it will be the early hours of Sunday morning as opposed to the early hours of Monday morning, which would have been the case if the race was held on Sunday night Vegas time. And just if you're interested, to give you an idea, a 10 p.m. local time start would translate to a 6 a.m. start in the UK, 7 p.m, and we're looking at a 3 a.m. start. And for what it's worth, I think it'll be nearer 10 p.m. There is no information behind that. It is just a gut feeling, a hunch if you like. Stefano Domenicali said the announcement of the race is an incredible moment for Formula One and it demonstrates the huge appeal and growth of the sport with this third race in the US. And he went on to add, quote, "There is no better place for Formula One to race than in the global entertainment capital of the world, and we cannot wait to be here next year." There we have it then. After months, perhaps even years of speculation, F1 is heading back to Vegas. I've got to admit, I was a little bit concerned about what the track was going to look like based on some of the concepts, if you like, doing the rounds on socials over the weekend. But it is not anywhere near as bad as I feared, and actually, perhaps controversially, I think it looks okay. And you know, maybe it's just me, but it kind of gives me Baku meets Sochi vibes in some places, so it could go either way as a race. Yeah, all right, we've got a couple of 90-degree corners in there, but they've not gone mad with that. And I think that first sequence of corners actually could make things quite interesting come the race. But without doubt, the big headline, and you could expect to hear a lot of this over the next year and a half, is that 210-mile-an-hour blast down the Vegas Strip. I mean, don't get me wrong, this isn't the best track configuration we've ever seen, not even close, although I think we can all agree it's better than Caesar's Palace was, but it's not too bad overall. And you know, I'm not going to sit here and pass judgment on how good or bad a race is going to be based on just a few renders and a track map. Ultimately, we will see how it goes next November. It could be brilliant, it could be terrible, but we won't know until the cars actually get out there on track. There is a potential issue here, though, as I'm sure you might be able to work out. Next year, Qatar is set to take its permanent spot on the calendar, although it is expected to return this year in place of Russia. And China does still have a contract in place for its race to continue as well, so that's expected to return. What that means then, as well as Qatar and throw Vegas and China in there as well, and assuming all races on the current schedule stay, that's going to take the calendar up to 25 races, which is one more than the maximum allowed as per the Concord Agreement. So basically, some of the existing races on the calendar will be at risk of getting dropped, and one race potentially on the chopping block is Spa, with the circuit's contract, of course, running out soon. So, for the record, I have no issue with a third race in the USA, but these new races, whether in the US or elsewhere, should not come at the expense of the big, purpose-built historical favourites that throw up some pretty damn good racing more often than not. The idea of losing Spa for some street track somewhere with an unimaginative layout would be pretty bloody awful in my view. Sure, the sport has got to show that it is moving with the times and these older circuits need to show they can do the same. But we've got to keep hold of some of F1's incredible history. And Spa is absolutely a huge part of that. And also, if we've got, 11 races in Europe and 3 in the US, can we at least have Kyle Army back on the calendar as soon as possible, please? Thank you. A return is long overdue, and I'm sure many of you will agree. And yeah, all right, you might be saying, but Sean, you said don't get rid of historical tracks, so how can we fit Kyle Army in as well? Well, firstly, I said the historical races actually give us great racing, but secondly, there are several venues on the calendar that tend to give us no real action, and I don't think many would be sad to see go. Paul Ricard, anyone? Hopefully you get my point. One thing I can 100% get on board with, though, is the backdrop. F1 racing down that Vegas Strip at night is going to look spectacular, and I cannot wait to see this generation of cars blasting down there. And yes, I am one of those weirdos who actually has no problem with getting up at 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. or whatever to watch some racing. I understand the concerns around the potential drop-off of viewership from Europe, but it's one weekend a year, and if Liberty Media want to grow the audience over in the US, they have to make sure that it gets the races shown over there at a reasonable hour. A prime time slot, it just makes sense. Okay, as I say, the European fan base is a big one, but I think we forget how fortunate we are that most of the races are held either in the early afternoon or the evening over here. I just don't think it's that big of a deal for one race a year, but I'm sure many of you will completely disagree. Let me know what you think. All in all, though, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what Vegas has to offer F1. I do feel like I'm in the minority, though, because there does seem to be a lot of negativity around the announcement from some quarters. And yeah, there also seems to be a fair bit of positivity from others, but let's just see how it goes. You can look at a track map or whatever and say, oh, that doesn't look great, or that looks fantastic, but we can't make a judgment on racing until we've actually seen cars racing, as I've said a couple of times. And it could become an absolute fan favourite weekend and the track might actually work really well. Of course, it could also flop, but I'm going to be optimistic. And again, I cannot wait to see those cars down the Vegas Strip at night. I mean, Singapore looks incredible, but Vegas could be even better. I'll also freely admit before I go that I'm probably going to spend the rest of today just singing Viva Las Vegas, but there you go. That is it for this news reaction video, but you can let me know your thoughts on F1 heading to Vegas in the comments section down below. And what do you think of that track? What is your first impression? Now, I will be back this weekend with another video, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. The Australian Grand Prix next, and I cannot wait for that one. So pleased to see it back on the calendar. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.